Does having a high body count ruin your ability to bond? Well, the question and answer to this aren't just societal or cultural, they are psychological and neurobiological. Let's look
If
at
a
it
man is
today.
ever asking you about your body count, you're talking to the wrong man, and he can get like that's so stupid. Get
So can I ask you this?
What do you think?
The body count conversation is so skewed because the world that we're living in now is not representative of where it would have been 10 years ago or 20 years ago. But the thing that I'm most interested in is historical jealousy. You know,
they used to do.
yeah. So hearing stories about what your partner used to get up to, even if it happened once,
Yeah.
right? And it's so strange. You didn't even know that they existed. You didn't know them. They didn't know you. They couldn't have said no because they were waiting for you to come. Maybe this was a one-time thing or whatever. And it triggers, especially in men, it triggers such a visceral fear,
Yeah.
right?
I would love to earn your support. If you would be so kind, please like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit the bell. A great deal of my subscribers do not get notified when I make a video, so please hit that bell. Let's get
Sexual
into this.
conquest. There is immense psychological significance to be found in the fact that a term that once referred to killing people now in modern society applies to sex.
Modern culture glorifies body count like it's a scoreboard. To men, it's a badge of honor. To women, it's empowerment. But it actually does rigorously affect us psychologically, and it's time for us to deal with this hard truth. Let's look at what happens to a person when they rack them up.
What we do with retroactive jealousy is we hold on to the past as a way of predicting how they're going to hurt us in the future. The more you're anxious you are, the more you perceive threats in your environment. So what's happened with people who are jealous of the past is essentially they have a core belief that their partner's going to hurt them at some stage anyway. Now, if there's no present day evidence for that, they will look for it in the past and use that as a way of creating hypotheses of how they might hurt you in the future.
Attachment theory, which was originally come up with by John Bowlby, says that the way that you attach your love and your attraction, your feelings of wellness with your original primary caregiver, your parent, the way you attach to them is poured out into your relationships later in life. And that can take the form of secure, anxious, avoidant, or disorganized styles. And that actually has a lot to do with whether you're racking them up later in life.
If a woman has been with lots of men, the chance that she has some kind of disease is much higher.
Let's break these down and try to see if any of these fit into the way that your parents came at you or the way that you come at your own children. So secure attachment is you feel safe forming deep emotional bonds. So, feelings-based, emotive type of talk in the family. Anxious attachment is you crave closeness and fear rejection. So any boundary setting might be seen as an incursion against your safety and security in your relationship. The third is avoidant attachment, meaning you suppress intimacy and avoid vulnerability. So those cold, ultra stoic, or even the females who maybe cannot connect with their emotions in a relationship, and that just seems aberrant because it is in fact aberrant. And then the last is disorganized attachment, where you swing between fear and craving connection. And you can think of somebody who might be leaning more into like narcissism or other things like that when you see that disorganized attachment. So what happens when you rack up dozens or even hundreds on your body count? Does that matter in whether you attach to people? The answer is yes. So if somebody you know, or even maybe yourself, has been racking them up body count wise, part of the reason might be that you're a man with avoidant attachment who uses casual spiciness to maintain control while avoiding emotional vulnerability. So if you were in an avoidant attachment style when you were growing up, perhaps you're pressing that onto your current relationships and you're just using intimacy as a way to sort of demonstrate that you have value and control.
Care about this. Perhaps all we should say in response is, okay, but we do. Deal with it. Like, we just do. That's it.
Rates of anxiety have been going up exponentially among women. And when you have an anxious attachment style, perhaps that's part of it for this operating system, is you will use sex to try to secure love and validation. But ultimately, it does leave you feeling probably empty because you might meet a man who has the avoidant attachment style. He uses intimacy to try to control, and you use it to try to feel intimate and be vulnerable with somebody. And when those two meet, you're that one who ends up getting bruised. So when you or your friends are racking them up, you're not just doing numbers, you're actually rewiring your brain. Oxytocin for ladies and nesopressin for men are both those bonding neurochemicals. And when you begin to use intimacy as sort of this way to deal with your stress or anxiety or depression or those other symptoms, you end up building a tolerance to those neurochemicals just like you would if you were using a drug. So over time, they lose their potency and you begin to need more and more, or to escalate the types of intimacy that you have to worse and worse levels, and you end up empty in the end anyway. That means you've trained your heart to detach. Congratulations. So here's some of the cultural fallout from all of this racking up numbers that everybody's been doing. And it's not everybody, but a lot of people, a lot more than usual. High body count isn't just a personal choice, it is a cultural epidemic. And this has caused broken families, ghosted relationships, people racking up numbers in their 20s, 30s, 40s, even hundreds without being able to focus on commitment. That is a problem, and it's an adaptation of not actually having children come out of these intimate relationships at the rate that they used to. And it's not just hookup culture, it is an attachment breakdown on a national level. Can we find a way out? Let's see. Real masculinity is not about conquering women, it's about mastering yourself and your own thoughts. So if you're a man watching this and you feel like one of these applies to you, where you're just racking up numbers to try to cover emotional wounds, reflect on your attachment style. Be honest about that. Stop using intimacy to cover emotional feelings, neglect, or just wounds that you've had. Pursue depth over novelty. Our evolutionary way as men is to pursue novelty, new relationships. Try to go for depth over novelty, and the payoff will be exorbitant. And lastly, set boundaries that build trust. Do not have overly emotive conversations with females that aren't your partner. Don't have people that you're leaving on red all the time in order to jump to the next. Try to close the loop on these relationships, and you will reap the rewards, possibly in marriage and family. So as we did a flyby of the attachment styles, recognize then if you're a father and you have kids, you are pouring your exemplary attachment style onto the life of your child. So if you're doing these types of things that are racking up numbers, just imagine that your children at some level will see this and they will model the behavior that you, and in fact, if you don't attach with your daughters, if you don't bond with your daughters, they will find someone else to bond to, and that man will probably be lying to them. At least 1 out of 10 will, if not 9 out of 10. Do you want that for your daughter? Absolutely not. You must bond with them, and so we must model what good attachment styles look like to our spouses, to the mothers of our children, and therefore our children will do better than we did. If you're more interested in these attachment styles and how they might play out in your current relationships and why body count actually is the result of failing in these attachment styles, maybe your parents were the failures, maybe it's us, we ourselves that are the failures, but we can do better. And when we're able to bond in meaningful ways with people, that is what we've been adapted to crave and want, and we can do better as a group. Men especially. If you're watching this, please like, share, and subscribe to somebody who might need it, and hit the bell so that we can learn more about these attachment styles together. I've been a therapist for over 13 years. I don't do things the way ordinary therapists do, and I created this channel to begin to speak out about some of the ways my industry gets it wrong and some of the ways that knowledge and research can help us to live a better life. God bless. My name is Casey and I'm the Rumble Right Dad, and this channel is devoted to trying to improve men and by proxy their wives and women and then children and families to live a life robustly in the truth